Hey, welcome back. This is Pastor Kathy. Welcome back to another motivational moment. As you know, we're diving into forgiveness this week, a key to kingdom living. And today I want to talk with you about this idea of what does forgiveness bring? Why, we talked about yesterday, why do we forgive? But what does it bring? What is the benefit of forgiving? I want to leave you with just a few quick key thoughts about this. When we choose to forgive, when we allow that release to happen, when we let things go in our heart, I want to suggest that number one, it's the key to peace. One of the ways that we can block our own peace in our life and disrupt our own peace is when we harbor unforgiveness in our heart. Because again, when we harbor unforgiveness in our heart, when we're holding on to something, we're holding on, we become angry, we're holding on to the offense, it causes anger, we hold on, it disrupts that which God has given to us, which is his peace. I cannot have peace in my life, my whole life, and also have unforgiveness. Because what unforgiveness does, it is the gateway to anger, it's the gateway to bitterness, it's the gateway to resentment. When I choose to not allow something to go, when I choose to hold on to something, when I choose to remain angry and upset about something, I am also opening the door for the enemy to take root and take foot and to build anger that then festers and develops into resentment. That takes when we have resentment, then we begin to, it's essentially to say that we are looking at that person or that situation, and we're holding on to it. It has such an effect on us that I begin to dismiss that thing. I don't like it. There's attitude behind it. And that gives way to bitterness. The bitterness, if you find yourself being bitter, that when you think about a past circumstance, you think about a past situation, you think about a person, and you find yourself just feeling sour and just having these strong, visceral feelings that are all negative. There's nothing positive related to resentment or bitterness. It's negative, and you're almost become triggered by a thing, and it stirs up, and you in your mind, this thing could have happened 5 years ago, this offense could have happened 10 years ago, but in your mind you're triggered and you go back to that day. You remember that conversation as if it just happened. You remember the feelings that resonated with you. You remember every word of that conversation was said. You begin to replay those things, even though time has gone by and 5 years have gone by, 10 years have gone by. In your mind and now in your heart and your emotions, it's as if it just happened yesterday. It's as fresh as could be. The recollection of detail and feelings and what was said is just as if it happened yesterday. Those things take root. The benefit for us when we choose to let it go, when we choose to give it to God, when we choose to be released from that negative, when we choose to move through it and move beyond it, is that it frees us. Have you ever heard it said that in order to forgive somebody, you don't necessarily have to have a conversation with somebody? It doesn't have to be that we sit down at the table, we go through what happened, and there is this clarity that happens. That is one way it can happen. Yes, sometimes we need to confront our brother and our sister. We need to have a reconciling conversation. But sometimes the reality is that that's not always able to happen. Maybe the person to whom you're still holding hostage in your heart has died. Maybe they are physically in a state where they can no longer have a conversation. Maybe they're living, but they can no longer have a conversation. Maybe they're in a cognitive state where they aren't able to remember or have a remembrance of those things because of mental illness, because of age taking this course. But I want to offer you, my brother, my sister, that we can still go through a process of forgiveness in our heart and over an offense or a matter or situation, a person, even if that person is not able to come to the table. You see, the benefit of forgiveness is because it's a process for me. Forgiveness is not for the other person. Finding it in my heart to forgive someone and to let it go, it releases me. It releases me. I'm no longer held hostage to that piece of the past. I'm no longer sitting and spewing in anger and resentment. I dare to say that when we choose to forgive, that we ourselves are able to reclaim a part of our life, a part of our peace that was once lost, that we are able to reclaim joy that we no longer were able to have, that we are able to begin to walk in parts of our purpose that have been pushed away. We are able to find joy in life again. Because I dare to say, resentment, anger, bitterness will suck you dry of anything that's positive, will suck you dry of life and joy, will suck you dry, and it will take the life out of you. You reclaim freedom, you reclaim joy, and you reclaim peace. I want to offer you today that if in any part of your life, as you're doing your heart searching and your soul searching, you found that you've been holding on to something, that if you ask, and maybe you're not aware, I dare that you can ask the Spirit of God to show you if there's anything in your heart and in your life that you are holding on to, anything in your heart and in your life. And maybe you say, this is what it was for me. For so long, I would say I had no clue that I had unforgiveness in my heart. I didn't feel like there was something that I was holding on to. I had no consciousness or awareness about it. But you know what I did have? What I began to find that the Lord began to expose to me was I was finding that I had deep anger in my heart about certain situations related to certain people. I actually had resentment in my heart connected to certain situations and certain people. And I had bitterness in my heart. And as I began to search my heart and seek the Spirit of God to help me understand and peel back the layers and the layers of the onion to get down to the core, I found that at the core, there was offenses and things that had happened. There were places in which I had been deeply hurt by people, maybe for me over a long period of time. And that deep hurt was never resolved. I never resolved it. I never even was able to, through another person, come to a place of resolution about it. And that deep hurt transformed into anger. And that deep anger festered into resentment. And that deep resentment festered into bitterness. And I can tell you firsthand, when I became aware of that, then my eyes were open to the places in my heart that I needed to forgive. I want to offer you today, my brother, my sister, to search your heart. And maybe you say, there's nobody I haven't that I'm holding a grudge against. Maybe not. But search the places of your heart to see if there's any places that have deep anger, deep hurt, deep resentment, and deep bitterness. And I dare to say at that, you will find, and if you track back through the help of the Holy Spirit, you will find places that need forgiveness. Today, you can be free. You can at least begin the journey. You can begin the journey of being free and reclaiming your joy, reclaiming your peace, reclaiming your freedom that's offered to us by starting the journey towards forgiveness, the journey towards healing. And maybe you say, I don't know where to start, Pastor Kathy. I get you, because I kind of didn't either. But where I started was with asking the Spirit to show me, and asking the Spirit to show me how do I release these things. If you don't know where to start, the Spirit of God does, and the Spirit of God will lead you to all truth. Ask the Spirit today, and I know He will. Hey, I hope that you've enjoyed this moment. It's giving you something to think about. Would you join me in the deep reflective work that we're called to do so that we can be free and healed in every aspect of my life? I'm on the journey seeking wholeness in this aspect for me. Will you join me on the journey? Because I believe that as we find and move towards forgiveness, it too will liberate us. We'll see you tomorrow.